I get a lot of people asking me how we were blessed to walk away from corporate America in our early 30s. Well, listen, I don't want to keep that a secret. I want to share it with the world. And so maybe you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to figure out, how do I even get started on my journey of entrepreneurship and getting to a level of freedom? Well, text the word freedom to 737 777 9909. Enter your information in, and we look forward to sharing some information with you. A proven system with small overhead, right? That you can do part-time, spare time, right from the comfort of your home, and have amazing mentors, coaches, and a community of entrepreneurs who are willing to support you and help you on your journey to freedom. Welcome to Code Freedom. I'm your host, Eddie Bales. Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt like there's got to be more than life than the reality that you see every day? Tune in weekly, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays as we crack the codes to freedom in every area of your life. Welcome to Code Freedom. This is your host, Eddie Bales, and this is episode 201. And I'm excited about this episode because I'm going to help somebody, because I know what it's like when you're in a situation where you have this target, you have this goal, you want freedom like crazy, but you find yourself getting further and further away from the goal, further and further away from the target. You have this challenge and this setback, and it seems like you can't even see the reality of it even happening. And so you start to go in the opposite direction. You're not even doing the daily disciplines that are necessary for you to become free, because you can't even see. You start to lose that belief. And 1% doubt and you're out. And so today's episode, what I'm going to share with you is a clear-cut way to get back on track, to get back on course towards your goal of freedom. And by the way, might I add, the way to earn this freedom is to have your passive income greater than your expenses. Now, that's financially. Of course, there are lots of different ways that you can have freedom. And it could be all different platforms. I mean, it could be through your marriage, it could be through your health, through your spiritual journey, all different forms of freedom. But specifically, I want to talk about financially, how to get back to that place where you're doing the daily things that are necessary. And actually, I think this would apply for every other area as well. And so that thing that you need to do is you need to go back to why. And you need to dig deeper and find out if your why is really um strong enough, if your why is strong enough. Because the thing is, if the why is not uh strong enough to help us to continue through the fight, through the journey, through the ups and downs, through all the challenges that you're going to go through, then it's not strong enough. So we need to, I don't know if I talked about it on this podcast, but there's this thing called 7 levels, right? Where you just ask yourself why, and then why, and then why, and then finally, after at least 7 times, you finally get to the root thing. Because sometimes we have what's called a surface level why, where we say what sounds good, like, man, I want to be free because I just don't want to struggle anymore. Well, that's okay, but let's ask why 7 more times, or 6 more times, and find out exactly why you don't want to struggle anymore. And we can get something that, what I like to say, connects your heart to the why. Like, it has to be connected to your heart, because if it's not connected to your heart, then it 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 won't survive through the challenges, right? So, like, I hear sometimes people, even in my own business, they'll say, "Man, my why is I just want to help people." And that's noble. That's great that you want to help people, but is that going to carry you when you go through the challenges, when you go through the journey, when you go through the ups and downs, when you got to go to battle, you got to go to fight on your why to make it happen? Is that going to be the thing that's going to keep pushing you through? And a lot of times it's not, because it was a surface level why. It wasn't a deep why that connected to your heart, it connected to your soul. Right? It moved you. Sometimes we say you got to have a why that makes you cry. We say sometimes what's helping you or what's hurting you, but we have to really identify it. It's got to be specific, and it's got to connect to your heart, because otherwise, like I said, you won't you won't fight long enough if you don't have that passion in your eyes, if you don't have that vigor to go through what you got to go through to get on the other side, because freedom is not free. I'm sure you've discovered that already. And so in order for us to achieve these levels of freedom, we gotta work at it. We gotta go through it. But we have to be purposeful. So what is your why? Do you know your why? Why are you doing it? And it can't just be, oh, I just want my family to be good, right? I mean, yeah, that's good. We all want our families to be good, but why is that important to you? And then once you say why it's important to you, I'll probably say why again, and then why again, and then why again until we finally get to that point. And sometimes it moves you to tears. I've done this exercise, and literally seen lots of people cry because it really connected to their heart. It connected to their soul. It connected to something that was an emotion that was like, man, and that's the why that's going to push you. That's the why that's going to keep you up at night, get you up in the morning. It's going to have you disciplined. It's going to have you motivated, inspired. You have self motivation. You don't need outside forces to motivate you because you're self inspired. You're self motivated because that why, it connects and it's so strong. But we got to identify the real why. We got to identify the root why, or like I said, peel back the onion layers, and get past the surface level why, and get down to that core, that deep rooted why. Sometimes, a lot of times, I would even say it's connected to something as a child, like something that we experienced as a child, and it's such a pain that we can't bear to live it as an adult. And when you can, I'm not saying it always have to be that way, but a lot of times it is. It's something that it's such a trigger that it moves you into activity. It moves you, and so I've shared openly on this podcast. For me, one of those things, when I started working at the age of 14, I was working because I wanted independence so bad. See, I was getting certain items and from stores and things like that, and it's no fault of my parents. They were doing the best that they could with 4 kids, right? But just understand that I had I didn't always have the latest and the greatest, and so I also, here's the thing: it's one thing to not have the latest and greatest, but it's another thing to also not have that reinforcement, right? Where you, like for some people, you're good now. You may not have the latest and greatest, but you've had enough reinforcement where your identity is solid, is strong. Like, that you are worthy. You know that you have that confidence. Well, I didn't have that because I didn't have anyone really pouring into me saying, "Hey, you got this." I didn't have anyone saying, "Hey, you are somebody. You are great. You are going to accomplish," right? And so a lot of times you need those things. You need that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement to say, "Hey, um, you know, you can have confidence. You can maybe get teased a little bit, but it not even bother you." Now nowadays, somebody can tease me, and it may sting a little for a second, but I just brush it right off because I've had time to work on myself and build myself up. Why am I saying all this? All I'm saying is I can think back to situations that happened as a child that caused me to work harder as an adult, simply because I didn't want to go back to that pain. And I'm sure you could think of some things too, where things that happened. I could tell you story after story after story. I could tell you situation and moment and experiences that have caused me to become who I am today. But my thing is, we have a choice. We have a choice to um like really go after that thing, or we have a choice to let it take over us. We have a choice to let it rule us, if that makes sense. And so we have options, but the why, once we discover that why and we really start to dive into it and we really start to, um, just make sure that it aligns properly with us, then nothing can stop us from what we're called to do. And nothing can stop you from being free. Nothing can stop you from living the life of purpose and destiny and greatness, because that why had been so deeply rooted and so connected to where it needs to be. You've identified it, you know it, you see it, you write it down on a piece of paper, you think about it, you dream about it. That is the why that you're going to accomplish and achieve. So I hope you got some value from this episode. Go back. If you're struggling, if you're in a situation where you're just like, maybe you might be in somewhat of a funk, or maybe you might be in a situation where you just you just start losing hope, you start losing belief. I want you to go back to your why, and I want you to start writing it down. I want you to start thinking about it, visualizing how things will be when it actually is accomplished, that you've achieved your why, and that imagine that it's already happened and how you would feel those feelings of how it would feel that you've accomplished it, and watch it start to happen. But we got to do the work, but we can also work on ourselves and work to a point where we can discover that why and make that why significant to push us, motivate us, and inspire us to do what we need to do. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. God bless, and we'll see you on the next episode. This is the Code Freedom Book Club, and today this is going to be the last episode where we'll talk about the power of one more. The next book that we'll get is You by Eric Thomas. Can't wait to get that book. A matter of fact, it hasn't even come out yet, but it will be out, I think, in the next couple days. So I'll be picking that up and we'll be going through that book. I cannot wait. But one more chapter that I want to, or just a point that I want to bring up as it relates to the power of one more, and hope you guys enjoyed the book. But this one concept, it says in chapter 14, convenience and greatness can't coexist. Convenience and greatness can't coexist. And oh my gosh, I mean, like, if you're saying, look, I want to do more, I want to be better, but maybe you're not willing to get up earlier or stay up later, then you falling into convenience. If there's so many different things that we can do to just stay in convenience, and just understand convenience is not going to win the game for you. Convenience will keep you on the benches of your life, and you want to get off the bench and into the game. But we got to get uncomfortable. We got to roll our sleeves up. We got to get our hands dirty, and we got to be willing for things to not be convenient. See, I have situations all the time where building my business is not always convenient. Where I would rather spend time with the family. I'd rather be doing certain things. I wouldn't mind going out with the friends or going to do these certain things that I could be doing, but I understand that success is not convenient. I understand that sacrifice is necessary. And some people just are not willing to make the sacrifice. So this is just a quick snippet that I want to touch on. But read chapter 14, and I love to hear your thoughts on what you're getting out of chapter 14. But we're talking about how convenience it gets in so many people's way. Like I heard someone say that if you're not living the life you want to live and you're sleeping to a certain time, then you don't want it bad enough. And it's not even just about sleep. It's all kind of different things. Right? Like it's convenient to eat the the sweets or the dessert, but you need to lose the weight, or you want to lose the weight, right? It's convenient. But if you are willing to be inconvenienced and not eat it, even though it hurts because you really want it so bad, right? Or whatever it is that you want or you want to do, what I'm saying is we have to be willing to be inconvenienced in order for greatness to happen. Because greatness attracts greatness. But when you see anybody who's great, like for instance, I've talked about this on several episodes, but let's just go back to Kobe Bryant. I mean, Kobe Bryant would know that practice started at maybe 4 or 5 a.m., and Kobe Bryant would be in the gym at 3 a.m. He inconvenienced himself. I mean, it was already an inconvenience to be up at 5 a.m. in the gym in the summertime when it's off season, right? But to get up 2 hours earlier than practice just so you can have a one up on the rest of the players, just so you can say, I worked harder, that is being inconvenienced. And that is where the true success lies, is when no one else sees it, but you're doing it, and you're doing it consistently, being willing to be inconvenienced so that you can have greatness. So I hope you guys enjoyed that chapter, and I can't wait to discuss You Owe You by Dr. Eric Thomas. See you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for listening. Definitely feel free to take a screenshot of this episode, tag me in it on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you find me on social media. I would love to give you a shout out. Hey, you might even get a prize. Who knows? But excited that you had a chance to take a listen. I hope you got a lot of value. And definitely feel free to give us 5 stars as well as a review. Show us some love, and we appreciate you. God bless you all, and see you all over the top.